Bonjour. So, my name's Billy Hull. I'm 30 years old. I live in a place called Harlow, Essex. And this is going to be the first of many videos that I make for a new channel that I'm creating, and the focus is going to be my life, my experiences, consciousness, human perception on the dimension that we're currently living in, and all topics in and around that, but generally life. And I want to bring something to the table that all humans are going to be able to really connect with, to start with, so that will give you the connection to a story that we are all simultaneously sharing. We're all living the same lessons and the same type of existence, just in many different forms and perceptions and different places with different people. But essentially, it's all the same experience, and we're gonna experience the same stuff, just at different times and in different ways. But essentially, we get the same experience, and obviously our perception on that experience, the way that we accept it, that is probably the only difference. So first of all, I'm going to give you an entirely honest account of my life from the moment I can remember until today, which would then give an audience a way to connect with me. For those that are already awakening or have awakened or are on this journey, I'm assuming that the connection to this story and to this message is it will be instant. But there's going to be many people that maybe check this out and and they don't have any intention to really search outside of the life that they're living. They're quite happy just plodding along, and that's cool. But I'm hoping that there'll be a lot of people who listen to my story to start with, and there's going to be lots of stuff in there that is really real, rugged. It's a crazy life, because life is crazy. So what I'm going to give you first of all is just a summary of the content that will be for the blog, and an idea of some of the videos that you'd expect to receive, and that you're going to be able to watch and listen to. And I just hope it doesn't bore you too much. But anyway, the number one subject that we're going to be talking about, or I'm going to be talking about, is my birth into this dimension. How I was born, and when I speak for me, I'm also speaking for us. But obviously I can only speak for me. So my birth into this dimension, my innocence, my pure intention for life, how I remember it at that early age. And again, my perception from the earliest age I can remember. Number two is going to be childhood, my integration as a toddler, as a young child, integrating into a structured system. How I had trouble with that, and my outward perception through growing up. So how my innocence and my pure intentions that I was born with were in some way programmed or conditioned out of me. But in any case, it was perfection. But we'll come to that again. Number three was school. My struggle to integrate with other humans, other children, to feel accepted. I was full of fear, I was lonely, and really searching for a way to be able to be a part of. I didn't really know what to do. I didn't feel a part of anything. I didn't actually want to be a part of anything unless I was the boss, unless I was in charge of. If I wasn't in charge of something, I didn't really want no part of it. So that again will be explained in depth, and how that aspect of me has played out throughout my life in many different scenarios. Number four will be the use of drugs, and how I quickly established a way to integrate myself with the use with using and selling drugs, and how I established a safe place for myself using and selling drugs, how that put me into a situation, into a type of existence where I was comfortable and I felt like maybe I had some control. So number 5, we'll be talking about ego, how my ego developed over a number of years, and how destructive it was, how it was just an entire illusion, how my mind had built this perception of life that had really took life from me. And it was only later on, once I was able to see some truth around some stuff, that I was even able to acknowledge that I even had an ego, that there was something here serving me that wasn't me, wasn't my true self. But again, that'll be a subject that we delve into in great detail. And ego, false perception of the world, false belief system, and it led me to be very, very unhappy over the last few years that have just passed. And again, it was projecting fancy cars, clothes, watches, stuff. I was behaving in a way that people received me as, they would look at me and think that maybe I thought I was better than them. Again, it was all their mind. It was none of my business what they was thinking. But again, I was enjoying the fact that people might have thought, it put me slightly above. But that didn't actually put me above them items, the material items that I was using, just brought me level with the average guy to feel just okay. I wasn't feeling up here. These items, I was down here, the average guy was here, and these items just brought me to safety, not anywhere past that. And again, it was a complete lie. The whole makeup of mind and perception around all of that stuff, which is all very interesting and absolutely relevant to almost every human being that is existing currently. Ego's essential, because without it, there isn't really physical life. But then again, we've built some dreadful behaviours and thinking patterns that have led us to be simply very unhappy. So that's another thing that we'll really look at, and I'll speak entirely my truth and explain the process of how I let it go and where that's left me now, and blah blah blah. But that's the 5th subject. The 6th subject is going to be years spent drug dealing, the violence, the disgusting lifestyle that involved, the things that I've done, the experience that I've had in that life. And don't get me wrong, I've had some very funny experiences, which I'll be more than happy to share, some very violent, some very dangerous, all of that stuff. So again, a lot of people are going to be able to connect with this. You really wouldn't recognise the person that sits before you and does this video, that is doing this video, in comparison to the guy that I was when I was 19, 18, 17. I was very, very, very lost and very nasty sometimes. But anyway, so that's the 6th subject. The 7th is going to be not so much karma, but it was I believe my karma was served upon me very quickly, and I was engrossed in a very heavy, very, very painful drug addiction for a number of years. And the fight goes on. That will be a battle that will continue for as long as it has to. So I'll be speaking about drug addiction, my journeys in and out of rehabs, and how that addiction brought me back to my innocence and my truth. How the despair, the pain, and the suffering saved me, and how every moment of that imperfect life, when I was existing in a very, very hostile, aggressive, violent, horrible lifestyle, and you would never imagine that that was perfection, but it was just absolute perfection. And where it led me and how it led me there was very, very beautiful, and it's created a very, very, very beautiful story that I'm able to tell. And I'm privileged to be able to sit here alive and in good health and share that story and how I was brought back to my innocence and all of that stuff. So yeah, it's cool. Number 8 is loss through death. And that's something that every single human on earth is going to encounter, is a loss of some description. So it might be your granddad died, your nan died, your mum died, your dad died, I don't know. But regardless of how we lose we all experience loss, and it's something that every one of us has got in common. And if it hasn't happened, you can unfortunately say that at some point you're going to experience this pain. And again, it's a very interesting subject, because it's how we are taught to receive life is an entire lie. How we're taught to receive pain and suffering. We reject every experience that comes our way when it brings us a negative feeling, but the rejection of that moment, you're rejecting the experience. You're rejecting, in the case of somebody dying, you're rejecting the pain. You're rejecting the existence of that person. And again, I've fallen victim to the poor me, the self-pity, the very, very selfish, delusional mindset that completely spoil the beauty of those existences, and they're to be celebrated. And again, it's another huge subject that we can delve right into and find some truth around and explore the true meaning of another's existence in ours, and how we truly appreciate it, and how we truly grieve pain in a productive way that we actually heal. It doesn't just stick with us forever. We identify the truth about life. We identify the truth in a death, and then we find a way to grieve in a real way. But yeah, it's a subject that has left me in a very, very bad headspace at times. But it has brought me to this moment where I sit and I record this video, and I can give an experience and some truth around it that could really, really help a lot of people. So it's beautiful. Number 9 is going to be prison. So I was in prison for a while. I've been in drug rehabs all over the place. I've done 18 months worth of drug rehabilitation in Wayland Prison. Cocaine was my trade, was my life, was my medicine, was my best friend, was the thing that took away my pain in any scenario. So I'll be talking about, prison, how that saved my life, drug rehabilitation, how they were detrimental in some ways, but how that being detrimental also opened up some truth for me, and those experiences, regardless of how I judged them at that moment, again, were perfection, entirely necessary at that moment for me to have that given experience, for me to awaken in certain ways. And it's been a very slow, gentle process, because you couldn't awaken to the truth in one hit. You would simply you would go insane. It's a lot to take in, and when you're so fixed into this fixed thought realm, and then your mind is opened to the true possibilities of what life is, it's a head fuck. So it has to be a very slow integration and a very slow process in order for you to truly grow, blossom, and not go insane. So, So that's another subject. Number 10 is going to be the birth of my daughter, the start of my business, and the start of a new episode of Drug Addiction and Suffering. And that was on my return back from prison. And all of this, there is hours and hours of worth of video content here, and there's many, many pages of writing that I've done and that I will have to do. But yeah, the next 11 is going to be my success, how it was achieved simply with ego. And it was a really, really strange thing, because I was most successful when I was in my most downward spiral, and the only way that I've been able to, assess how that happened is just with the use of my ego. The use of my ego was one of my main tools in keeping me safe, and it is for us all. And when I was at my lowest, my ego was at its biggest. So my ego had to project a man of power, of wealth, of success, of doing really great things, and they were, and you can't take that away from the experience. They were great things that were being achieved, but the truth of how I actually felt was so far from what you see. You'd see me in a nice car, and businesses and stuff, and nice places, nice watches, all of this stuff, and I was so broken, and I felt like a ponderat, if that even exists. Like an old weasel. I was broken in all ways that I can't really explain, and I felt like just simply a bag of shit. But I had all of this stuff keeping me safe, and so yeah, when I was at my lowest, my ego was at its biggest, and because my ego was at its biggest, I needed things to feed my ego, and that was the process. That was the process with feeding my ego. It was keeping me safe so I could keep going, and the lower I went, the bigger my ego got, and it ended up a fucking mess actually in the end. But again, perfection led me to where I am now, and my life, I may say, is not perfect, and I am still going through some very, very trivial, bizarre experiences that are leading me to lessons, but I'm accepting everything as the perfect experience for me in the moment. So there's a completely different perception in how I'm receiving life, rather than, I'm trying not to reject any part of it. So every part of it, the good, the bad, the sad, the mad, I'm accepting all of it as perfect. And then there's going to be the awakening, the start of the awakening, and that happened in prison. It was a very slow process, but my mind, it was, first of all, I was bang on the conspiracy theories, 9/11, all of this stuff, thinking fucking hell, like seeing the lie in it. It was an obvious. There's just society, governments, all of that stuff. It's obviously corrupt. It's obviously manipulated in order for financial gain and whatever. But you know what? The minute you get caught up in all of that stuff, you're really taking the focus off yourself. And again, I don't know whether you'll be able to really resonate or connect with what I'm saying now, but in fact, everything is perfect. And when you understand that you are infinite and that you never die, and that your soul is continually living lives and having experiences, then you can kind of accept that, okay, so we die, we go on and we have another experience. So all of this loss that takes place, there isn't actually any such thing as loss. It's a creation, always. And so all of that stuff, all of them conspiracy theories and all of that stuff is the start of when you start to question society, you start to question where you live, what is going on, why am I here, what am I, you start asking all the right questions, I suppose, and start really looking into stuff, and then you'll be rejecting all of them experiences as unfair and unjust and blah, blah, blah. But what I've come to understand is that the focus on all of that stuff is a complete waste of time, and the focus just entirely inward is the only thing that each individual has to actually accomplish for a complete change in humanity. If every single person searches inwards, finds the truth, then I haven't got to help him, or he hasn't got to help me, because I've helped myself, and so on. Everybody has helped themselves to a point where the process would be a lot quicker. But again, I have no control over it. I don't wish to have any control over it. I just simply wish to be able to provide a platform with information, some inspiration to how you can search inwards, the same as I have, and the same as that is necessary for us all to do for humanity to change as a whole. So the start of the awakening was brought to me through pain and suffering, through drugs, through addiction, through every poor experience that I'd brought into my existence. Now, it's another subject altogether, but everything is our creation, you know, and the power of which we are gods in our own right. Now, that doesn't mean I could say that I am a god, but when I say that, I don't assume that I am better than. I do not assume I'm below than. I do not assume that I hold any power over anyone or anything. I am simply a vessel that stores God consciousness, and through programming and conditioning, we really get drawn away from the truth. And in this journey that I'm going to explain to you guys, it's how I got brought back to the truth, and how I understood how powerful and how beautiful existence is, and how beautiful this dimension can be in the future if we all do the work that we need to do together. So the start of the awakening, and there's many stories, and they're all very, very beautiful and inspiring. And then, so this is point 13, and I've made a point of making 13 points. I'll go on to explain in another blog the relevance of numbers, the science, the way that numbers guide us in our lives when we're able to recognise what number is our number, and see when it appears and what it's trying to tell us. But that's another video altogether. So the calling, number 13, the calling that led me to the use of DMT, ayahuasca, and some other Amazonian medicines that I have been exploring with recently. So DMT, I'll just give you a little brief on what that is. You're more than welcome to Google it, research it. DMT, it's a substance that we have in our brain, and so during birth, your baby brain will release DMT. The idea of this is, so if you imagine that I am not this body, my consciousness, and this flesh and bones that sit here, they're two separate elements altogether. And this is like a spacesuit, essentially. It's like a suit that allows me to have an experience in this dimension. When I'm wearing this suit, I'm strapped into this physical experience which exists in this dimension. You take me out the suit and I'm not able to have the physical experience, which gives me the senses, the taste, the touch, the hearing, the smell. So when the baby is born, the release of DMT, the soul enters the body. And so we've got now a baby with a freshly born soul that has just come from a state of bliss. Previously, that baby would have lived another existence, and what goes on, I haven't got a clue. But this is a theory, this is only my belief from information that I've gathered, experiences that I've had, that I'm able to conclude this, and you're more than welcome to disregard it or reject it or whatever. Some of you will hear this as the truth, but whatever, it's just, it is what it is. So anyway, we have this baby, it grows into an adult. Now through life it has many different experiences, but there is a higher self to this being. This being is bigger than just this meat that you can see. It's being guided by a source of God that is its higher self. Now its higher self would have chosen the experience, would have chosen the place. It would have built entirely the life that this being was going to have, and it might be really hard to accept when you've had a really, really terrible experience here on earth, to say that how the hell would I have picked that for myself? Because you're a physical consequence of something much bigger. So you're the one at the sore end of the stick, getting the emotion and the pain, the suffering, and that you're the one at the end of the chain getting beaten by the experience of life. But essentially you're transmitting so much information and so much lesson, back up to your higher self, and that is the purpose. It's entirely a lesson. It's growth. It's coming from a low state of consciousness, a low state of understanding, a low state of perception, into a higher state of consciousness, and with that you'll find that you'll just become the best possible version of yourself in that period. So anyway, the person has an experience. It gets to the end of its life, and in death, when the body starts to understand that the last breath is coming, you have an explosion of DMT, bang, the soul will leave the body. This is just my understanding. So that's the explanation behind DMT. Now, when you take that, when you smoke that, you're obviously going to experience it's kind of a simulated death. There's many different ways of taking it, but when you take it in a pipe, for example, when I was on the last retreat, I took Bufo, which is the strongest DMT known to man. It comes from a toad. It's like a 5. I don't even know the technical. Wait there one second. I don't even know the technical name behind it, but I can get it. But anyway, it's Bufo. So you have a 14-second smoke on that pipe, and you'll experience death. And every time I've done it, it's been different. Sometimes it's scarier than others, but you go back to a state of bliss, complete oneness to all things. And that's when you understand that you are infinite, you live, you exist, you are everything forever. So it's a comforting thought to know that if you've had the idea that when you die, you die, it's quite comforting to have the experience and to understand that you are infinite, and that is something that most people will have in common when they have the experience. Is at the end they'll be saying infinite, we are infinite, and it's like, so you get that, but you get the true appreciation for life, an appreciation for life that you could never have had without the experience of death, and to love your family and to appreciate the people that are in your existence truly. When you've had like a simulated death, and then you get the privilege of being able to come back into this body, it's like, whoa, like you're just itching to go and see your family, even the people that you don't really like, you just want to give them a hug and really appreciate every moment of existence, and you get the complete realization that every second of your existence was perfection in order for you to be having a given experience, and later on in the awakening you come to understand that you're actually entirely in control of every second of everything that happens to you. You are a walking God, and that applies to all of us. We are, the power that we hold within is the secret that is being held from us, and when we unlock that collectively, there's going to be a very, very, very insane shift in life as we know it. So taking ayahuasca, drinking ayahuasca, it's not something I've done many times. I've been on one retreat, but again, I was told that you're going to be unconscious, you're going to piss, shit yourself, and you're going to be having an absolutely crazy psychedelic experience. And obviously, I was aware that there was going to be some healing involved and stuff, but I had no idea truly of the wisdom of this drink. How clever can one liquid be? It was like you sip this drink, and it immediately gets to know you, understands your pain, your suffering, your existence, and then it'll identify some truths that you never knew existed, and then from that, it's then your work to heal them truths that you couldn't previously see. But it's one of the most gentle, beautiful, healing things, and I haven't felt anything in my chest region for a very long time, like love. I'm able to tell people that I love them and stuff like that, but I'm never able to really feel it in my chest the way that I know that I should. And so when I drank the ayahuasca, that's exactly what I got, is this love. And yeah, and all I want to do is give that to as many people as possible, or at least inspire people to the point where they're like, yeah, I think I might give that a go, because it will be the best thing you ever do. Truly, it'd be the best thing you ever do. So beautiful. So yeah, the combination of Kambo, and the Kambo is like a venom from a toad that you put on some points. It's a physical cleanse on all levels, spiritual, energetic. Yeah, it does lots for you. But again, another video will be produced solely talking about these medicines and how they work. But the focus won't be so much on that. It will be more the truth behind my existence and whatnot. I could go on all day. These are subjects that I've spent my life deeply interested in, and it's consumed me from such a young age. From as young as I can remember, I was asking the questions like, why am I here? And for the awakening for me, when it really happened, it was like being freed from a 29-year prison sentence. It was like having shackles cut away from my wrists. It was like it's very, very sad, liberating. Just, it's all these emotions, and when I talk about these are emotions that you haven't truly felt ever. So you're feeling them all, and you're feeling them truly, and it's sick. It's so sick. And that is pretty much the content. There's going to be many spin-offs. There's going to be many breakaways from subjects, and then I focus on broken down parts of these subjects, and then eventually there'll be a video talking about diet, lifestyle, basically how we achieve how we achieve as close a state to bliss as possible without being fucking dead, really. And that was another point I made the other day. It's like everybody's itching, everybody's on this spiritual awakening thing. Everyone's meditating, everyone wants to be in a state of bliss. Everybody's like seeking bliss, and that's absolutely fine. That's cool. I'm on the same journey as that. But you must remember that a state of bliss comes as the gift for living a life with hardship, and hardship is the pathway to peace. So again, don't forget that yes, we want to bring as much bliss and as much peace and love into our existence, and there's no problem with that. But let's not forget that we have got a state of bliss on its way to us. It's guaranteed that we die and that we will be in that state. So let's not try and spend too much time in a state of bliss while we're actually existing, because we get that time at the end of the life. So again, there is a balance in all of this that has to be addressed and monitored. And having balance is one thing that I'm not good at, so it'd be work in progress for myself also. But we get, and I'll just say one more thing and then I'm going to piss off, but there's life. This is what gives us physical existence, is the recognition of emotion. So when something bad happens, painful happens, we feel pain, we feel suffering, we feel sad. Now that's to be enjoyed, it's to be respected, and it's to be admired, because that is what brought that moment into a real existence. If there was no emotion and there was no feeling around a certain subject or a thing that happened, then it wouldn't even exist. It gives the moment existence. So it's about how we, because we want to reject pain. We just want all good. We want fun, love, but we don't want any of the bad stuff. But that's simply because we're rejecting it, and that's a programmed state that we grow up rejecting these experiences. Now, when we stop and we start to feel an experience, we start to accept it, which is something that I've just started doing, it suddenly makes it a lot more special, a lot more real, and it really puts that moment on your infinite timestamp, makes it a part of your existence, makes it a part of who you are. You reject that scenario, you reject that pain, then you're deleting it off of your infinite line of stuff that's taken place. very, very important that you start to accept the pain and suffering in order to acknowledge life. Yeah. It's very, very interesting stuff. I hope I haven't bored you too much. So that's a summary. What I'm going to do is maybe take some time to get the video right and really do this in such a way that it's done in a professional manner, and that I also give people the opportunity to come back and talk and interact with what I'm saying, and together we can grow together and get to where we want to be together, because we are brothers and sisters, and it doesn't matter what colour you are, where you're from. Even the worst, even your what I would perceive to be the worst type of human being, he's my brother. You know, they're my brothers and sisters too. They're lost, and they need the help of people who have got the truth rushing through their veins. I could literally talk all day. I'm going to leave it, but that's the start of this project. Let me know what you think. Toodaloo.